You are Victoria, a young woman with an unquenchable curiosity, nestled comfortably in the embrace of your cozy study, surrounded by the warm whispers of history. The antique desk, a treasured heirloom from your great-grandmother, has been a silent companion in the corner of the room, holding secrets that you never knew existed. On this fateful afternoon, as you absent-mindedly run your fingers over the intricate carvings, you notice a peculiarity, a slight discrepancy in the pattern that wasn't there before. With a gasp, you press down on the hidden button, and the desk creaks open to reveal a compartment, long forgotten by time. Inside, you find a bundle of letters, yellowed by the years and bound with a frayed ribbon. The handwriting is elegant, filled with passion and longing that seems almost palpable. My dearest William, one of the letters reads, how I wish the walls could speak of the love that is forbidden to bloom in the open. A gentle knock at the door pulls you from your reverie. Victoria, dear, your mother calls out. Your neighbor, Mr. Harris, is looking for you. The name echoes through the room, resonating with a newfound significance. Little do you know that the discovery of these letters will not only unravel a long-lost tale of passion and betrayal, but also lead you down a path where you'll question the very fabric of your own heart and the bonds of marriage. You take a moment to compose yourself, placing the letters back into their secret sanctum. The knock at the door grows louder, a reminder of the present. With a deep breath, you pull open the door to reveal Mr. Harris, your neighbor, standing in the hallway. His eyes are red-rimmed and his posture slumped, a stark contrast to the usual confidence you've seen in him. Victoria, he says, his voice cracking slightly. Can we talk? His words hang in the air like a storm cloud, pregnant with the weight of his unspoken troubles. You nod, stepping aside to allow him entry into your study. He glances at the desk, and you realize with a start that he can never know about the letters. The room feels smaller as he takes a seat, the air thick with his distress. It's about my wife, Linda, he starts, his gaze drifting to the floor. We've been having issues. It's been so hard. The love we had seems to have disappeared, and we've become strangers in the same house. His confession is raw, and you feel a pang of empathy for him despite the turmoil of your own thoughts. I thought maybe with your knack for understanding people, you might have some advice. You sit down opposite him, the antique chair creaking under your weight. The letters hidden beneath the desk seem to call out to you, whispering of the tumultuous love affair that mirrors his own situation. You listen intently as Mr. Harris recounts his marital troubles, his voice a tapestry of pain and regret. He speaks of sleepless nights and arguments that leave both of them feeling hollow. His eyes, usually so bright and vibrant, are now dulled with the weight of his sorrow. As he talks, you find yourself drawn to him, not just as a neighbor seeking solace, but as a fellow soul navigating the complexities of love. I just don't know what to do, he admits, finally meeting your gaze. I don't want to lose her, but I don't know if we can fix this. You nod solemnly, feeling the gravity of his words. Choosing your words with care, you reply, love isn't always easy, Mr. Harris. Sometimes it requires us to look deep within ourselves and face truths that are difficult to acknowledge. You recall the letters hidden beneath the desk and the forbidden love they chronicle. The words of your great-grandmother echo through the annals of time, speaking of a love that dared to bloom in the shadows. You realize that you're in a unique position to offer advice, having just been privy to a love that transcended the boundaries of propriety and expectation. Communication is key, you say, and so is understanding. Maybe you and Linda need to have an honest conversation about your feelings. Mr. Harris nods, his expression a mix of hope and fear. "I've tried," he says, "but it seems like we're speaking different languages. Every time I try to express myself, she just shuts down." You can see the desperation in his eyes, and it resonates within you. You remember the passionate, unbridled emotions in the letters and the heartache they ultimately brought. "Give her space," you suggest gently, "but let her know that you're there for her." Sometimes people just need time to process their emotions before they can open up. He sighs heavily, rubbing a hand over his face. "I'll try," he murmurs, standing up slowly. "Thank you, Victoria. I appreciate your insight." He turns to leave, and you find yourself reaching out to him, your hand lightly touching his arm. "And if you ever need to talk, I'm here," you say, offering a small, comforting smile. He nods again, a hint of gratitude in his eyes. Before exiting the room, the weight of his troubles seeming to have lifted ever so slightly. The room falls silent once more, and you're left with the echoes of his pain. You find your gaze drawn back to the desk, the secret compartment now a symbol of the tumultuous love you've just been exposed to. With a feeling of trepidation, you open the compartment again and retrieve one of the letters. The paper feels almost alive in your hands, the ink still rich despite its age. You begin to read the words of your great-grandmother, speaking of her clandestine meetings with William, the man who wasn't your great-grandfather. The passion and yearning in her words are stark reminders of the human condition, the universal quest for connection and understanding that seems to have eluded Mr. Harris and Linda. As you read, the sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the study. The words of the letter blur together, and you realize that you're lost in thought. The plight of Mr. Harris has stirred something within you, a curiosity about the nature of love and loyalty that you can't shake. You consider the advice you gave him, wondering if it holds true for everyone, including yourself. Your own marriage, while not fraught with the same intensity of emotion, feels stagnant at times, like a pond with no inlet or outlet. The water growing still and murky, you hear the sound of footsteps in the hallway, and your heart skips a beat, thinking it might be Mr. Harris returning for more conversation. Instead, it's your husband, Charles, entering the room. He pauses at the sight of you, the letter in your hand and the expression on your face. "Victoria?" he asks, his voice filled with gentle concern. You quickly stuff the letter back into the compartment and close the desk, your cheeks flushing with guilt. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he says, taking in the tension in the air. You force a smile, standing up to greet him. No, I found some old letters from my great-grandmother," you explain, hoping your voice doesn't betray the emotional storm brewing within you. "They're quite fascinating, actually," you add, trying to sound nonchalant. Charles nods, his eyes scanning the room with mild curiosity. "I see," he says, his tone neutral. He steps closer to you, placing a hand on your shoulder. "Is everything okay?" His concern is genuine, and for a moment, you consider sharing the burden of Mr. Harris's confession with him, but something holds you back. The letters, the hidden compartment, it feels too personal, too entwined with the mysteries of your own lineage. You nod. "I'm fine, really, just lost in thought." He squeezes your shoulder gently. "You've been spending a lot of time in here lately," he observes. "Is there something you'd like to talk about?" His question hangs in the air, a gentle prodding at the door to the sanctum of your thoughts. You shake your head, smoothing down your dress. "It's just, the past can be fascinating, can it?" You gesture to the bookshelves laden with dusty tomes and family heirlooms. I just find myself drawn to the stories of those who came before us. Well, I'm here if you need me, he says, his gaze lingering for a moment before he leaves you to your musings. As the door clicks shut behind him, you can't help but feel a twinge of regret. Was that the right decision? To keep the letters a secret? To not share Mr. Harris's plight with your husband? The room feels suffocatingly small, the walls closing in around you like the pages of a book you're unable to escape. You decide to step outside for some fresh air, leaving the study and its hidden secrets behind. The cool breeze kisses your cheeks as you wander through the garden, the blooming roses whispering sweet nothings that seem to mock the discord in your heart. You find yourself at the fence that separates your property from Mr. Harris's. On the other side, you can see his house, the curtains drawn, the windows reflecting the setting sun. What secrets are hidden there behind those closed blinds? What echoes of the past resonate through his own walls? As you stand there, lost in contemplation, you notice movement from the corner of your eye. It's Linda, Mr. Harris's wife, emerging from the side of the house with a basket of laundry in hand. She looks tired, the lines around her eyes etched deeper than you've ever noticed before. She pauses, catching you staring, and offers a forced smile. "Victoria," she says, her voice weary, "I didn't know you were there." You wave awkwardly, the distance between the two of you seemingly growing with every beat of your heart. "I was just getting some fresh air," you reply, feeling a sudden urge to bridge the gap. "How are you?" Linda sighs, setting down the basket of laundry. She crosses the short distance to the fence, her eyes searching yours. "I've been better," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. It's complicated." You nod, understanding more than she could ever know. "I'm sorry to hear that," you say sincerely. "If you ever need a listening ear." Her eyes well up with tears, and she quickly brushes them away. "Thank you," she whispers, her voice cracking. I don't know where we went wrong." You lean against the fence, feeling the warmth of the setting sun on your back. "Sometimes it's not about finding the wrong turn," you say, your words chosen with care. "It's about learning to navigate the path you're on now." She looks at you, a spark of hope igniting in her eyes. "Do you think that's possible?" she asks, her voice trembling. "Can love survive when it feels so lost?" You think of the letters, of the fiery passion that had burned through the pages, and the eventual heartache it had led to. "Love is resilient," you reply, hoping your voice doesn't betray your own doubts. "But it requires effort from both parties." You both stand in silence for a moment, the weight of your own words hanging in the air. The scent of roses is overpowering, a reminder of the beauty that can grow from the thorns of hardship. "I'll talk to him," Linda says finally, her resolve steeling. "I'll tell him everything. Maybe it's time we tried to fix what's been broken for so long." You smile, feeling a warmth in your heart. "I believe in you," you say, and you mean it. The sun dips lower, casting long shadows over the garden. You notice the chill in the air, a prelude to the cooler night ahead. "I should get back inside," Linda says, her voice still shaky. "Thank you, Victoria, for understanding, for being here." She turns to leave, but before she does, she pauses. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's story?" she asks, her gaze drifting to the desk in your study, visible through the window. You follow her gaze, the hidden compartment and the letters within, feeling like a silent confession. What do you mean, you ask, playing along despite the irony. Linda sighs, her eyes refocusing on you. It's just, sometimes it feels like we're all just playing out the same dramas, the same heartaches that our ancestors did, like we're all trapped in this cycle of love and loss. You consider her words, the hidden letters echoing in your mind. Perhaps, you concede, but I believe that every love story is unique in its own way. We just have to find the strength to write our own endings. Linda nods thoughtfully, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly. Maybe you're right, she says, before collecting her laundry and heading back towards her house. You watch her retreating figure, feeling the weight of her pain and the gravity of the situation. As she disappears from view, you can't shake the feeling that you're being drawn into a narrative that you never intended to be a part of. The sun has almost set now, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange. You make your way back to the study, the desk and its hidden compartment, calling to you like a siren's song. Sitting down, you pull out the next letter, the words of your great-grandmother spilling forth like a river of secrets. As you read about her secret rendezvous and passionate embraces, you can't help but feel a strange kinship with her. Her love was forbidden, yet it burned so brightly. Was it destined to be extinguished, or could it have been a beacon of hope in a world of societal constraints? The sound of the study door opening jolts you from your reverie. It's your husband, Charles, with a tray of tea and biscuits. Thought you might need this, he says with a soft smile, setting the tray down on the desk. He notices the open compartment and raises an eyebrow but says nothing, trusting your privacy. You hastily tuck the letter away, your cheeks flushing as you stand to greet him. Thank you, dear, you murmur, your voice thick with the emotions stirred by the letters. He wraps his arms around you from behind, his warmth a comforting contrast to the chill in the room. What are you reading? He asks, his curiosity piqued, but his tone casual. You hesitate for a moment before responding. Just some old letters I found. They're from my great-grandmother. You don't dare tell him the whole truth, fearing it would only stir up more questions and potentially cause him pain. He nods, his embrace tightening slightly. You've always had such a fascination with the past, he says, his breath warm against your neck. But don't let it consume you. You pull away gently, turning to face him. What do you mean? The concern in your voice is genuine. Charles looks at you, his eyes searching yours. Sometimes, Victoria, it's important to live in the present, to focus on the love we have here and now. His words resonate, a gentle reminder of the life you've built together. But the letters, the secret compartment, they whisper of a love that dared to challenge societal norms, a love that burned so fiercely it was immortalized in ink. I know, you reply, taking a sip of the tea he's brought you. The warmth spreads through your body, chasing away the coldness that the letters have brought. But understanding the past can help us appreciate what we have today. You reach for his hand, hoping to bridge the unspoken chasm that's grown between you. And it's not just about me. I think it could help Mr. and Mrs. Harris, too. Charles nods, his expression softening. I've noticed they've been distant lately, he says, taking a seat beside you. Is everything okay with them? His question is innocent enough, but you feel a pang of guilt. You've been holding on to Mr. Harris's secret, and now Linda's opened up to you as well. You're the keeper of their heartaches, a silent confidant to their marital strife. They're going through a tough time, you reply, choosing your words carefully. Marriage can be challenging, but I think with some effort, they can find their way back to each other. You take another sip of tea, the warm liquid soothing your dry throat. The room feels stifling, the air thick with unspoken secrets. Charles nods, his gaze thoughtful. I suppose we all have our own battles to fight, he says, squeezing your hand, but we're stronger together. His eyes hold yours, and for a moment you feel the warmth of his love, the bond you've shared for so many years. You nod, feeling the weight of your own words. You've always been a firm believer in the sanctity of marriage, the unyielding loyalty it demands. But the letters, they whisper of a love that defied convention, a love that could not be contained. You decide to change the subject, not wanting to delve deeper into the tumultuous waters of the Harris marriage or your own burgeoning feelings. I've been thinking about renovating the study, you say, gesturing to the desk. Maybe it's time to give it a fresh look, make it more us. Charles's eyes light up at the mention of renovation, a shared interest that has always brought you two together. I've been meaning to replace that old chair, he says, nodding towards the one you're sitting in. What do you think about some new shelves? The conversation flows easily, the tension from earlier dissipating as you discuss paint swatches and potential new furniture. The letters for now remain a secret tucked away in the desk. As the night deepens, you find yourself unable to shake the weight of the day's events. You excuse yourself, claiming fatigue, and retreat to your bedroom, leaving the study and its hidden compartment behind. The moon casts a silver glow through the curtains, illuminating the room with an ethereal light that seems to amplify the whispers of the past. You can't help but wonder what your great-grandmother would think of your own marriage, of the choices you've made. Lying in bed beside Charles, his steady breathing a comforting lullaby, you find sleep elusive. Your mind races with thoughts of the letters, Mr. Harris's pain, and the quiet desperation in Linda's eyes. You reach out to stroke his cheek, feeling the warmth of his skin and the comfort of his presence. Yet the echoes of a love that once was, and a love that could have been, linger like ghosts in the room. Charles, you whisper, your voice barely audible. He stirs, his eyes opening to meet yours in the moonlit darkness. I need to tell you something. He props himself up on one elbow, concern etching lines into his forehead. What is it, Victoria? His hand finds yours, lacing his fingers through yours in a gesture of comfort. You take a deep breath, the words you're about to say feeling heavier than you anticipated. I found some letters, you begin, your voice quivering slightly, from my great-grandmother. They're about a love affair she had. You watch his expression carefully, looking for any sign of judgment or anger. Instead, his eyes remain soft, his gaze unwavering. Oh, he responds, his curiosity piqued. What's it about? His voice is calm, a gentle invitation to share your burden. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself. It's about a man named William, you explain, your voice barely above a whisper. A man who wasn't her husband. The letters are intense, full of passion and longing. You feel the heat of a blush creep up your neck as you admit this to your own husband. Charles's expression remains neutral, his thumb tracing gentle circles on the back of your hand. How did you come across these letters? He asks, his voice measured. You explain about the hidden compartment in the desk, the way the letters had been secreted away like precious jewels. His eyes widen slightly at the revelation, but his grip on your hand doesn't falter. What does this mean to you, Victoria? He asks, his eyes searching yours in the moonlit room. You take a moment to gather your thoughts, the gravity of the situation pressing down on your chest like a heavy cloak. It's made me think, you begin, your voice tentative. Think about the choices we make in the name of love, the sacrifices we're willing to make. You swallow hard, feeling the weight of the words you're about to say. And it's made me question, If our love is enough. Charles is silent for a moment, his eyes never leaving yours. Then he sits up fully, bringing your hand to his lips. Our love is more than enough, he says firmly, his voice filled with conviction. But love is a journey, Victoria. Sometimes we hit bumps in the road, but that doesn't mean we're lost. He pulls you closer, his arms wrapping around you like a warm embrace. We'll face whatever comes our way together. You lean into him, feeling the warmth of his body, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. His words are a balm to your soul, but the whispers of the letters still echo in your mind. But what about the Harris? You ask, the concern for your neighbor's marriage still heavy on your heart. Their love seems so broken. We can't fix their love for them, Charles says gently, stroking your hair. But we can support them. Be there for them as friends. His voice is filled with understanding, a reminder of why you chose to marry this man. And we can learn from their struggles, make sure we don't take our own love for granted. You nod, the comfort of his embrace making the room feel less cold. You're right, you murmur, nestling closer to him. But I can't help feeling responsible. If I can help, I should. You've already offered your support to Mr. Harris, and you've been there for Linda today. Charles reminds you. Sometimes, the best thing we can do is to give them the space they need to work through their issues. His voice is soothing, a gentle reminder of the boundaries you've established as neighbors and friends. You nod, his logic resonating with the part of you that wants to respect their privacy. Yet, the letters continue to whisper their secrets, a siren's call that's difficult to ignore. But what if they don't know how to fix it? You ask, the desperation in your voice mirroring the plight of your great-grandmother and William. What if they need guidance? We can't live their lives for them, Victoria, Charles says, his voice soothing. But we can be there as a beacon of hope, a reminder that love can overcome adversity. His words resonate through the quiet room, echoing the sentiment of your great-grandmother's letters. You sigh, the weight of his words sinking into your chest. I suppose you're right, you concede, your voice small in the face of his certainty. But I just can't shake the feeling that I should do more. You're a kind soul, Victoria, Charles says, his voice filled with affection. But sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to give people the space to heal in their own way. He kisses the top of your head, his arms still wrapped around you. Trust that they'll find their path, and if they need us, we'll be here. You sigh, feeling a mix of relief and doubt. The thought of not being able to help weighs heavily on your heart. But you know Charles is right. Love, like life, is full of complexities that can't be solved by mere intervention. It's the quiet moments of understanding and support that truly shape a bond. Thank you, Charles, you murmur, your eyes drifting to the desk in the hidden compartment. The letters are a stark reminder of the fragility of love and the lengths people go to preserve it. The room falls silent, the only sound the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. You lay your head on Charles's chest, listening to the comforting rhythm of his heart. His hand continues to stroke your hair gently, a silent promise of his love and support. The whispers of the letters seem to fade away, replaced by the warmth of his embrace. Yet, the echoes of the past linger in the air, a subtle reminder of the intertwined destinies of those who came before you. After a while, you pull away from Charles and sit up in bed, the resolve in your eyes unmistakable. I need to talk to Mr. Harris, you say, determination in your voice. I can't just stand by and watch them fall apart. Charles nods, understanding in his eyes. But be careful, Victoria. It's a delicate situation. You don't want to overstep. You sit up in bed, your resolve unshaken. I know, but I can't ignore the pain they're in. I'll approach him with tact, I promise. All right, Charles says, a hint of concern still lingering in his voice. But remember, you can't fix everything. Sometimes all you can do is offer a helping hand. Following your resolve to help the Harris couple without revealing the intimate details of your great-grandmother's affair, you begin to notice subtle opportunities to encourage romance between them. You find yourself casually bringing up topics of love and relationships in conversations with Mr. Harris, sharing insights from the past that resonate with the present. You invite both of them over for dinner, carefully curating an atmosphere that fosters intimacy and openness. During the meal, you gently guide discussions towards happier times in their marriage, hoping to rekindle the spark between them. You observe Mr. Harris's eyes light up as he recounts the early days of their courtship, while Mrs. Harris listens intently, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. The evening ends with a sense of warmth and nostalgia that seems to have thawed the chilly tension between them. In the following days, you pay closer attention to their interactions when you encounter them, looking for signs of improvement. One morning, as you're tending to your garden, you see Mr. Harris leave a bouquet of flowers on their doorstep, a gesture that seems reminiscent of the old-fashioned romance your great-grandmother had once known. Your heart swells with hope as you watch Linda's surprised smile from afar. Perhaps the letters had served as a silent catalyst for change. The next time you see Linda, her eyes hold a glimmer of something new, hope, maybe, as she thanks you for your words of encouragement. Things have been better, she admits, her cheeks flushing slightly. John has been making an effort. We've started talking again. You smile warmly, feeling a sense of accomplishment without taking direct credit. It's wonderful to hear, you reply, keeping the secret of your great-grandmother's letters to yourself. Love requires work, but it's always worth it. Thank you so much for listening to this story. Love is all we need to live a happy life. Understanding your partner is an art that everyone should learn. If you have any suggestions relating to the story, then do share it in the comments section.